Welcome back to Sports Radio 95.9 The Fan. My name's Mark, and yes, this is the Mark Moses Show, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. Right now here on the Club 52 hotline. Great man up there in Tallahassee, covers the Florida State Seminoles for Osceola magazine, which is partnered with Knowles247.com. His name is Tim Linafelt. We're here to talk Florida State football. Tim, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Look, I went and covered the Florida Gators spring game, all right? And there's a different optimism there. There's a lot of question marks, but up there in Tallahassee with that spring game, was it just this feeling like, all right, Winston's awesome, we're awesome, all right, let's go win another national title?
Maybe a little more complex than that, but, there definitely is sort of a feeling, at least among the fan base, of sort of satisfaction. Everybody's still riding high after the national title, and you still, you look up and down that roster. And outside of a few, question marks that every team will have, regardless of what happened the year before, there's an awful lot of talent and an awful lot of reasons to think that, Florida State's in line for another successful season.
Well, it starts with Jameis Winston, and he threw for 396, 2 touchdowns, and threw the ball over 50 times. Was that really part of the game plan, to throw him that many times in a football game?
Well, I think it really was, because what happened is Florida State's top 4 running backs, their top 4 scholarship running backs, all got hurt in the spring. None of them participated in this spring game, so they're using a fullback as their first-string running back in the spring game. So they kind of use it as an opportunity to almost sort of treat it as a passing scrimmage. Florida State's got some holes at wide receiver. Kelvin Benjamin's gone. Kenny Shaw is gone. So they kind of, I think, use the game as an opportunity to give Jameis Winston, a lot of opportunities to throw passes to a lot of different receivers, give some receivers some opportunities to make plays and stand out and kind of take hold of some of those open positions on the depth chart.
Were other people allowed to throw the ball, or was this like when we're kids where he's quarterback for both teams because we don't have enough players?
No, he got the vast majority of the reps for the Garnet team, but then Sean McGuire and John Franklin III split reps pretty close to even for the Gold team. I think McGuire might have got a little bit more, but they split it up for the Gold team, kind of trying to figure out who's in line to be that number 2 quarterback. But Jameis took almost all the. I think they threw the ball 60 times for the Garnet team, and he threw 56 of them. I'm not quite sure on the math there, but I think that's right.
We're here with Tim Linafelt, Osceola magazine. Give him a follow on Twitter. It's a must if you like Florida State or the ACC at Osceola_Tim. And real quick, sticking with the quarterbacks with Winston, I know it's like he was in the spring game, then he took a helicopter to go play baseball. I mean, let's get your thoughts on that. How has this been here in the spring where he's the closer for Mike Martin in the baseball team, but then he's also the quarterback for Jimbo Fisher? How has he handled it, and how's the school handled it?
They seem like they've handled it really well. One of I think maybe the biggest reason that it works is that there's a really good communication and really good relationship between the football program at Florida State and the baseball program. Jimbo Fisher is really close friends with one of the assistant baseball coaches, Mike Martin Jr. They both kind of work together in James's recruitment to get him on campus at Florida State. And part of the big sales pitch to get him to come to Tallahassee was, you'll be able to play both sports, and they've stuck true to their word and allowed that. But in talking to Mike Martin Sr., the head baseball coach, he sort of smiles and says, "Look, we know how this arrangement works. He's a football player first. He sees football scholarship, and he's a baseball player, as time allows. So he throughout spring practice, he only missed one practice session for baseball, and that was due to the fact that they had a series at Clemson. And it was just about impossible to travel efficiently from Tallahassee to Clemson on short notice like that. So he ended up having to stay there. But other than that, he didn't miss a single football practice, and it seems to have worked well. Now, an interesting dynamic this year that is different from a year ago is that in the 2013 season he hadn't played a full football season at quarterback. Going into the baseball season, he was a redshirt freshman in practice, but didn't have the wear and tear on his mind and his body going into the spring. So this year's been a little bit different. I think he's admitted that he's maybe a little bit more tired than he anticipated being, and it's just a really, really busy schedule. But then they also laugh it off and say, the busier he is, the better, and he likes it that way. So the arrangement has worked out just fine so far, and he's avoided any type of injury or anything that you'd be concerned with to this point, and so I think everybody's happy.
We're here at Tim Linafelt, Osceola Magazine. You know what's funny is when you go on the internet or you're on social media, you see people taking photos with Winston in his baseball gear. But he's actually good, right? I mean, he's a good closer for a top 5 baseball program. This isn't a publicity stunt. I mean, Winston's really helping this team, right?
Oh, absolutely. He just picked up his 5th save of the season on Sunday against Georgia Tech, and they had a 1-run win in that game on Sunday. So he came in and closed it out, and obviously played a really key role in that. And he throws high to mid to high 90s, between 94, 95 in that range on a regular basis. He's a big time contributor, and even more so. I mean, baseball players are a proud bunch, and Florida State's no different.
Yeah.
If this was just a sideshow or a circus, it wouldn't work. His teammates have to respect him and know that he's a part of the team, and he's one of them as well as a football player. Otherwise, I think it'd be really easy to have some resentment in the clubhouse, but you really don't see that.
That's a great point. We're here at Tim Linafelt, Osceola Magazine. Well, going back to the spring game this past Saturday, you talked about the running backs. Well, the receivers, Rashad Green, what do you have, 11 catches, 127, a touchdown? Is he going to be now the number one threat for Winston to get him the ball? I mean, is this the big number one in this offense?
Well, statistically speaking, Kelvin Benjamin got a lot of the headlines, and certainly deservedly so for what he was able to do over the back half of the season. But statistically, Rashad Green led them both in total receptions and receiving yards. So you can make the case that he was their number one receiver anyway. So he will be back, and kind of the situation for Florida State receiver is that we know that Rashad Green is really good, and the rest they're still kind of figuring out. There's talent on the roster. Some of it is sort of there's a pair of 5th-year seniors who are kind of looking to maybe take their career to the next level in their last year here, and then there's 3 sophomore guys who are anxious to get in the mix. And if none of them want to take advantage of the opportunities, then Florida State has some really talented and highly regarded freshmen that'll be here this fall. So it's sort of an embarrassment of riches at the receiver position, but maybe some unproven riches. You've gotten Rashad Green, and then it's a matter of getting 2 or 3 guys to kind of look at their opportunity in front of them and begin to take advantage.
Tim, you got to try to explain this to us, and I know you can. You know what you're talking about. I get emails about Nick O'Leary. What happened to him this offseason? Was he in some type of accident? I mean, what is the latest on him? Yeah,
that was kind of a strange little subplot to the season. About April 1st, and that's important. We started hearing rumors and grumblings that Nick O'Leary had been involved in a second motorcycle accident. Of course, he was in a motorcycle accident last year before the start of the season, and he'd been. So we heard that he'd been involved in another one. And of course, being April 1st, my first inclination to think, it's probably just an April Fool's prank or something like that. But then it didn't really go away. You started hearing more and more that this is a real thing, and then finally a couple days later, I was talking to Jimbo Fisher, and he said, he had been in another motorcycle accident, and according to Jimbo, he was skinned from head to toe. That was what he said, and also injured his ankle a little bit. So relatively minor injuries, nothing that I think Jimbo expected to keep Nick O'Leary out. Once the games start to matter, but he did come off as just a little bit irritated. I thought, especially given that I think everybody thought Nick was pretty fortunate to walk away from his first motorcycle accident with only relatively minor injuries, especially the kind of horrifying video that we saw of him being thrown off his bike at high speed. It was really lucky to not be more seriously injured then, and before the season. He told everybody who would listen that he was done with motorcycles until he was done with football. And look, I'm not here to come off as judgmental or anything like that. If he wants to ride motorcycles, he has the right to do that. But I also don't blame his coach for maybe looking at the situation, going, come on, man, we need you. Can you drive a car for the next few months?
Yeah, you're not joking. You're not joking, man. He's awesome, okay? Yeah. Florida State needs him. But, hey, let's switch gears then. Let's talk about the defense from that spring game on Saturday. Was there any new faces out there? Maybe some, freshmen? I mean, who really stood out on the defensive side of the ball? I know there was a lot of scoring and Winston's throwing every play, but who were some of the guys on defense who really stood out for you?
Well, the guy. In fact, I'm looking. The replay of the game is on right now, and I just watched a guy who I think is going to have an even bigger breakout year than he did before. Is Jalen Ramsey, defensive back, who just caught an interception on his back off of a tip ball.
Nice.
This is a team, Florida State, that lost two starting safeties or two starting defensive backs in Terrence Brooks and LaMarcus Joyner. Both of them are going to be high draft picks in the NFL. And I think that this guy, he's a sophomore. If he's not, I hesitate to say that he could be better than those guys, but he's certainly going to ease the blow from their departures. He's just a gamer, man. An outstanding athlete, big, physical, has a nose for the ball. Had a remarkable season last year in which he started all 14 games as a true freshman, became the first true freshman defensive back to start for FSU since Deion Sanders way back in the day. So you're putting yourself in pretty rare company there. And then also they have opportunities for guys in just about every position. Timmy Jernigan, the defensive tackle, is gone, so some guys are going to have to step up there. And then Telvin Smith and Christian Jones, two of their starting linebackers, are also gone. And it seems like it's kind of similar to the receiver position, where they have a lot of talent, a lot of guys who are really big high school recruits who haven't had their opportunity to shine yet, and now's that time. So it's a matter of them putting it together. But some guys to keep an eye out on the defensive side, especially at the linebacker position, is Marcus Eligwe, Reggie Northrup, who would be a pair of, I believe they're both third-year sophomores. They might be juniors. I don't have the roster in front of me. And then also Matthew Thomas, a sophomore, a five-star linebacker from Miami, who got off to a great start last year before having a season-ending shoulder surgery. So they have a lot of guys that appear to be capable, and only so many positions to go around. So it should be a pretty interesting fall camp. Yeah,
I can't wait for fall camp. Let me end with this. Florida State debuted new jerseys on Friday, right when I got off the air, maybe about 6 or 7 in a big party. I know you were there, and you had the new symbol. What are your thoughts? We'll do Fashion Police. What are your thoughts on the new symbol, the new jerseys, everything? It's all new at Florida State.
It is. Well, I think Florida State kind of, maybe they said this has been in the works for 2 years, and I believe that, but I also think that winning the national title and being in the public eye as much as they are, maybe kind of expedited that process a little bit, and you want to strike while the iron's hot. Me personally, I don't really care for the new logo or the new uniforms. I don't hate them. We had sort of some weeping and gnashing of teeth from some of the fan base around here upon their unveiling. They don't bother me. I think they're fine. I just think that, if your best case scenario for a new logo and new uniforms is everybody, sort of sighing in relief and saying, "Oh, they're not that bad." Well, then what's the point? Because what you had before, particularly from a uniform standpoint, were among the most iconic in college football. I was just talking to a buddy of mine. Anybody who watches college football regularly, you could turn a game on your TV, and if it was Florida State, you knew immediately that Florida State was playing because their uniforms are so closely associated with the team and the program. And the new uniforms are similar, but I just wonder if you're going to lose some of that a little bit. And at the end of the day, I don't know that it's a huge deal. And we've heard people saying they're going to protest or not buy new logo apparel or whatever, and I think that'll die down eventually. But I think it's fine. I just don't think it was necessary.
Tim Linafelt is trying to say he's not 19 years old anymore. He doesn't care for the fashion. That's great insight. Tim Linafelt, Osceola Magazine, part of Knowles 24/7. Give him a follow on Twitter at Osceola_Tim. Tim, appreciate that. Great stuff. And I know it's the dead period for football. We got to get ready for fall camp. But I hope I can get you on again. Well, maybe we could talk some more baseball.
Anytime, Mark. I'm glad to do it.